I'd just like to make a comment, too, because we've been dealing with this for a lot of years. What Nutrition Services, Sodexo here, has done from the school side is, like I say, with the peanut butter, we consciously, and I was a real advocate of getting it out of here because of the issue of students around and the issue of a peanut butter sandwich sitting next to, if I was eating one, Paul possibly could have a major reaction. So for the health reasons, that decision was made. But when we talked about the cheese sandwich, we also talked about students that are eating normal hot lunch. So there is not a student out there, if they're eating normal hot lunch, forget their money, they go through and they get their hot lunch. But this is the cheese sandwich brought to the point that, there are some students out there that never bring their money. And so we wanted to make sure they were eating as well. So we've been doing a combination of both of those. And in reviewing this with these folks, we sat down and went school by school. And I think what Mike is saying, there are some schools that are huge offenders of
abusers,
of not collecting funds. And so that's...
I would say that was what I was concerned about, is because I was aware at my son's school that, the staff was wonderful about following up. Even one time I forgot to put money in the, we used to pay ahead of time, right. And sometimes, gets by you, but we were always notified and able to make it up, and there really is no excuse. And so what I was looking at, I think the same thing as my colleagues, is I'm wondering, are some of these perennial offenders, do they really qualify for free and reduced lunch and we just haven't gotten the paperwork done? That would be one question. That might be one reason why you might not be getting some money, is they might really qualify for free and reduced lunch. And the other is, I think the partnership at the schools and a fund by the parent organization, where possible, to fill out. But some of the schools that I saw where there were huge numbers of unreimbursed lunches were schools where there was no excuse for that.
Yeah.
I would also like to say that when the student's lunch balance on their account drops below $10, which at elementary level will give them at least 4 more meals, we do send notes home with the student to the parent that lets them know that their balance is becoming low and it's time to add more money onto their account.
I don't know why the schools can't do that.
And then also we have all our managers, after the first and second day where, okay, I won't use Johnny, Susie doesn't bring any money. They give a list to the principal so that the principal can follow up and find out, did something happen? Has dad been laid off? Kind of talk to the parent, find out if there's a situation so that we can get an application to them if circumstances have changed, so that we can start feeding that student right away. But again, the school lunch program is kind of a voluntary process. We can't force them to fill one out if for some reason, mom or dad does not want to, and at that point then the principal kind of has to get involved and find out what we can do from that point of view.
Barbara?
So since we got how many months from last,
September, we got
September.
about 7 months.
So how have you dealt with this issue with the administrators?
We've only gone as far as when the student goes 3 consecutive days without bringing money to put on their account, that we bring it to the principal's attention that maybe they need to pursue something outside of our area, that there's some sort of neglect or something's going on at home that they may need to look into, whether it's homeless or CIT needs to be involved.
Yeah, but I mean the number of unpaid meals here going, the huge number at some of the schools. What have you done? How have you been handling that with the administrators? How have you tried to minimize that cost since you saw it September, October, November, December, January, February,
and some
March?
schools being abusers.
Yeah.
Other than notifying the principal, we've set up that, and each school site's keeping a list that when a student hits 3 days, that we'll no longer feed them until the principal has some sort of correspondence with the family or comes back to us saying, okay, I think everything's taken care of, or money gets put back onto their account.
So you started that as of now?
That started probably in November, December.
Then why are you still having 120? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense by your numbers.
Well, you get 3 free ones.
Has there been a disconnect of, does somebody at some point say you must be responsible for making sure you're doing all that you can to collect the money?
Well, it sounds like they've done their due diligence. I think the onus goes on us.
No, I think the onus, I'm not agree with that.
Perspective, other than
Barbara Price?
And, you know, and really, this goes the heart of what my question was, too, and I think going back to Gary's materials, the March 11th memo, I think the one that jumped out to me is reviewing the don't have money policy. You know, how do we, because I don't know if it's a matter that you folks need to or should be taking more steps. I guess the other question is, at what point do we involve it at a higher level, and is it, you know, a policy question, or do we need to have that discussion of how to manage this? I don't know where that falls.
Mr. Dugan?
Mr. Dugan.
Clarification question. Did I hear you say that at around November, a student would not receive any more than 3 free lunches?
That's correct.
Okay. And even at that, the numbers are what they are?
That's correct. I mean, and like I say, we can pass that along to our managers and whatnot, but then there are still those pressures that day when the little
Okay.
student is going through the lunch that principal or teacher says, you know what,
Right,
go ahead and
sure.
take care of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are probably
Right.
some that are exceeding the 3.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Grein.
One of the issues that when we analyze this and sit down and discussed it, we need to be more proactive in talking with the supervisors of the sites as well as the principals and letting them know this school really stands out, help us out. You know, Sodexo as a management company has stepped about as far as they can step in notification. I think the next point is we just need to talk to the supervisor and the principal and say, this is where this school stands right now.
If I could
It
just
really
finish.
stands out with some.
Ms. Pullman,
Mr. Dugan.
can I just finish?
Of course.
Then what I'm recommending is that this is an internal issue with our schools that we need to address. And it is not the responsibility of, I don't believe, of Sodexo to become the enforcer. It's the responsibility of the district and more specifically our principals to know that, you know, we meaning Sodexo isn't picking it up.